Welcome back. Libyan Coast Guards say that they've recovered the bodies of 5 migrants and picked 191 survivors off the coast west of the capital, Tripoli. The country's western coast is the main departure point for migrants trying to reach Europe by the sea, although the number of crossings has dropped sharply since last July. Officials say the 5 dead migrants were brought back to port in Tripoli on Monday, along with 115 survivors from various sub-Saharan African and Arab countries. Their boat was intercepted off Melita on Sunday after being damaged by rough seas. Another group of 76 migrants was intercepted on Sunday off Zawiya, just west of Tripoli. Over 40 suspects involved in the $100 million Kenyan graft case, including state workers and business people, have been granted bail. The 43 suspects were arrested in late May during investigations into money lost at the government-run service training scheme. They are facing charges including abuse of office and conspiracy to commit an economic crime, but have denied any wrongdoing. Kenya is currently being rocked by a new spate of scandals involving bogus tenders and suppliers that allegedly resulted in the theft of hundreds of millions of shillings by state officials from several government bodies. President Uhuru Kenyatta pledged to stamp out graft when he was first elected in 2013, but critics say he has been slow to pursue top officials and ministers. And elsewhere, the former Ghana Football Association head Kwesi Nyantakye has dismissed the widely circulated video of him apparently taking cash gifts as lies. Mr. Nyantakye was seen taking $65,000 from an undercover reporter, but the former football boss says the footage was doctored, dismissing it as shoddy work with cut and paste. He also says that audio snippets have been inserted and rearranged so as to falsely incriminate him. Mr. Nyantakye resigned from his post with FIFA and the Confederation of African Football after the footage was made public in June. It's the first time he has commented on the allegations since stepping down. And as Zimbabwe heads to the first national elections of the post-Mugabe era, the voices of young people is louder than ever before in a vote between the old guard of Zimbabwe's 1970s independence and a younger generation. 32-year-old activist and lawyer Fadzai Mahere, who is running for parliament for the first time, says the country is at the turn of an age.
Fadzai Mahere is campaigning for a parliamentary seat in Zimbabwe's first national elections since Robert Mugabe was forced to resign after almost 40 years in power. The 32-year-old lawyer and activist is running as an independent candidate for the MT Pleasant constituency, a residential suburb in the capital, Harare. Her message: the youth must step up after years of being dominated by a generation that lacked a vision for Zimbabwe's future.
We can sit and complain about how difficult things are in Zimbabwe, about how terrible our political options are, but we can also get involved and be the change that we wish to see in Zimbabwe.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who took power after the military coup against Mugabe, with his main rival Nelson Chamisa, hoped to rally younger voters against an older generation. According to official data, 60% of the 5.4 million voters on the new register are under 50 years old. A 2015 UN study showed women occupied only 35% of seats in parliament in a country where more than half of the population are women. Fadzai says it's time for Zimbabwe to change.
I think what the country is looking for is competence. They're looking for people who can deliver on their promises and have got the ability to stand up for the issues that are, their daily struggles on a daily basis. So absolutely yes. I think obviously, sometimes people focus on the fact that, but she's a female candidate. But I think ultimately once you prove your mettle, people get over the fact that you so happen to be a woman, because at the end of the day, when you deliver, when you speak in parliament, your gender is completely irrelevant. So yes, this country is ready.
On the ground, her approach has been to reach out to voters meeting them in their places of work and in their neighborhoods to share her manifesto. Before the fall of Mugabe, political freedoms like these were not always guaranteed.
It's extremely important that, our political system remains value-based. This is not a political run for its own sake. We didn't join politics for its own sake. The whole idea is to try and reintroduce a new style of politics that's centered around, the people, the issues that they face.
July's vote is being cast as a fight between the old guard of Zimbabwe's 1970s independence war and the younger generation. Missing from the ballot for the first time in 20 years will be Zimbabwe's foremost political rivals, Mugabe and Morgan Tsvangirai, the long-time opposition movement for democratic change leader who died of cancer in February.
And finally, on the program, the Egyptian government's decision to raise fuel prices by up to 50% has worried many citizens burdened by economic woes. The decision is part of an IMF-supported reform plan pressing for austerity measures that have made life tougher for ordinary Egyptians. Disgruntled Egyptians say a recent decision to slash fuel subsidies will further compound economic hardships as the government carries on with an IMF-supported economic austerity plan. Egypt raised gasoline prices by up to 50% on Saturday, June the 16th, as officials said the price hike would help save up to 50 billion Egyptian pounds in allocations for state subsidies in the 2018-2019 state budget. The price hike, the third since Egypt floated the pound currency in November 2016, is expected to pile more pressure on Egyptian consumers struggling to make ends meet amid high unemployment and rising prices.
I have been hearing about it being in the citizens' interest. I wish it was really in the citizens' interest. Where though? Until now I see no benefits to the citizens. All I see is people being tired. I'm very upset, and many people are also upset.
The oil ministry said the price for the 95-octane gasoline had been increased to 7.75 Egyptian pounds a litre from 6.6 pounds. 92-octane had been raised to 6.75 pounds a litre from 5 pounds, and 80-octane had gone up to 5.50 pounds a litre from 3.65 pounds. The ministry also raised the price for a canister of gas for Egyptian households to 50 pounds from 30, while a bottle of gas for commercial purposes was raised to 100 pounds from 60.
Of course, it is a big hike. It is a 35% increase over the value of the gas litre. The litre was for £5 and now it is for £6.75. This means that the increase is 35%.
The Prime Minister said the bread prices would not be affected by a 50.7% rise in diesel prices. It says the Ministry of Supply would bear the extra cost for bakeries to ensure that the price of Egypt's main staple remains unchanged.
It could be in our interest and the citizens in general, but that's in the long term. Currently, my point of view is that it is very difficult for the people.
Protests in Jordan earlier this month over the government plans to hike taxes had raised speculation among some Egyptians that Cairo may delay the planned fuel price increases, which were ordered by outgoing Prime Minister Sharif Ismail before Sisi replaced him last week. But Sisi decided to push ahead with the plan, saying the austerity program was necessary to put the country back on track after the years of turbulence that began in 2011 when mass protests forced President Hosni Mubarak to step down. And that's our program today. Thank you for watching. I am Bisi Adebayo.